everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to Collider Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeVries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us this morning is Dennis Tzeng.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Collider Movie Talk. It's Friday. It's the Friday before the big fight, McGregor versus Mayweather.
Also here is Miss Perri Nemiroff.
That's all good fun. There's a lot more important things happening this weekend, and I can't tell you about it just yet, but I will soon enough. How's that for a cryptic start to this episode?
Also here is John Rocha.
Listen, we're coming in hot. There's a lot to talk about. That's not the only fight going on, apparently, McGregor and Mayweather. There's other fights going on that we're going to talk about here on the show. So get ready. Buckle in.
And DeGriff.
Don't forget about the Game of Thrones. The season 7 finale is on Sunday.
Woohoo!
Collider TV Talk will be talking about that. Don't forget to check us out daily right here on Collider Video.
What show are you on again?
Collider TV Talk.
What show are you on again?
Collider TV Talk.
What show are you on?
Hashtag Collider TV Talk. Sinead DeVries is going to be on today, and Grace Hancock. Stay tuned. Yep. Sorry.
All right, let's get on to the first topic.
All right, Avatar director James Cameron was recently promoting the 3D re-release of Terminator 2 Judgment Day when he got to talking Wonder Woman. The director, who is currently in production on Avatar 2, had some strong words about the movie, and it's been causing fans to jump online and in the middle of the debate. When asked whether he liked the Wonder Woman movie, Cameron said, "All of the self-congratulatory back-patting Hollywood's been doing over Wonder Woman has been so misguided. She's an objectified icon, and it's just male Hollywood doing the same old thing. I'm not saying I didn't like the movie, but to me, it's a step backwards. Sarah Connor was not a beauty icon. She was strong, she was troubled, she was a terrible mother, and she earned the respect of the audience through pure grit. And to me, the benefit of characters like Sarah is so obvious. I mean, half the audience is female." Patty Jenkins then took to Twitter to respond to Cameron, saying, "James Cameron's inability to understand what Wonder Woman is or stands for to women all over the world is unsurprising, as though he is a great filmmaker." Sorry, guys.
Boy. That's James Cameron calling right now.
Though he is a great filmmaker, he is not a woman. Strong women are great. His praise of my film Monster and our portrayal of a strong yet damaged woman was so appreciated. But if women have to always be hard, tough, and troubled to be strong, and we aren't free to be multidimensional or celebrate an icon of women everywhere because she is attractive and loving, then we haven't come very far, have we? I believe women can and should be everything just like male-led characters should be. There's no right and wrong kind of powerful woman. And the massive female audience who made the film a hit can surely choose and judge their own icons of progress. Dennis, what do you think about what James Cameron said about Wonder Woman?
Yeah, he said something that's very, I guess, controversial. I guess for some people.
Yeah.
I don't agree with him 100%. However, there are certain things that he says that do make sense. I mean, he talks about Wonder Woman being objectified, and in that sense, he's kind of correct. But on the flip side of that, also the male versions of comic book characters are also objectified as well. If you're talking about something like a Thor, a Star-Lord, or Captain America or Superman, you've seen many scenes of them in their movies where they take off their shirt for no reason. So I feel like the comic book genre in general has that going on, and he does talk about like her physical attractiveness being looped into kind of the popularity of her character. I personally, I liked Wonder Woman. I don't think it goes as far as what he's saying. Like he says, it's a step back. I don't believe in that, but I do believe something like a Sarah Connor or a Ripley, or are characters that I think are what he says is more nuanced. Perri, what do you think?
I could not disagree more. I am shocked that James Cameron just came out and said that. I don't really understand why he wouldn't have kept that opinion to himself. And I also think Patty Jenkins' response is the ultimate response. She's saying what Wonder Woman is. To me, I read his quotes and it almost felt like, okay, maybe James Cameron saw Wonder Woman once and then this thought just popped into his mind and he dribbled it out his mouth during an interview, because this makes no sense to me at all. I understand maybe thinking that they're objectifying Wonder Woman because she's a beautiful woman. Gal Gadot is a beautiful woman, and that's fine, but why should that make her any less of an important character that could change everything in the industry, change things for young moviegoers? I mean, there were so many things that I've seen from Gal Gadot promoting that movie where young girls were really inspired by Wonder Woman and they came up to her, and so much heartwarming stuff. This just does not, what James Cameron said does not hold up for me at all. And you know what? I would respect Sarah Connor for everything she went through in those movies. She was in a tough situation. She rose to the occasion, all that. You know, the same thing can be applied to Wonder Woman. Just because she wasn't in a grit, she's not a bad mother, and she wasn't in a gritty situation, and it wasn't as dark. Wonder Woman inspired me and earned my respect because she was out to do the right thing. And really, she never uses her beauty in the entire movie to get what she wants or to try to achieve her goals. If anything, it's woven into the movie in a really natural way just for a laugh. And I think they establish why she is so gorgeous through the introduction of Themyscira so well. I can't disagree with James Cameron more on this.
Rocha?
Yeah, this is a difficult thing to walk, because it's basically a minefield. This is basically a minefield, right? You're walking, because I agree with Perri. I don't understand the point of James saying this. I get what he, in his twisted, logical way, was trying to say, was that women shouldn't have to be pretty to be, do these kinds of things or to be respected. Or like, people are talking about her because Gal Gadot is pretty. That does have to work. I disagree with that, because there are plenty of pretty women who've been in parts, been in films. Like Megan Fox, you can argue is pretty, but no one likes her off the Mutant Ninja Turtle movies or even that first Transformers movie. Like, no one's going, let me see that. It's about what you create in the character. And Gal Gadot got to the essence of Wonder Woman. Linda Carter was beautiful. She did Wonder Woman. There was no difference. People loved her because of what she brought to the character. Like people love what Gal Gadot brought to the character here. And I think there's a little bit of a left-handed slap to Linda Hamilton saying she's not a beauty icon. Last I checked, she was in a TV series called Beauty and the Beast, and she did not play the Beast. And this is your ex-wife that you're talking about. So there's a lot of what he said in this statement that's absolutely misguided and was so unnecessary to say. Whatever you got to say, sometimes you just got to think discretion is the better part of valor, right? And with this comes on the heel with this back and forth that he had with Josh Brolin over being in the Avatar sequels, where he called him all kinds of names and said he was doing a big mistake not being a part of it. And so this is, to me, flexing the wrong kind of muscle at the wrong time. This is a film that's very beloved. Women have embraced this film, and it isn't because she's attractive. It isn't because she's beautiful. It's because of her innocence, her purity, and yet not losing her principles, not losing her determination. And when she's confronted by these rules of a patriarchal world, she pushes back, she fights back, and she lets her emotions guide her and her intelligence guide her and her strength. And we see that throughout the movie, so that by the end, we are so on board with her when she has this recollection of this moment with Chris Pine, when she can finally hear what he said, and we have that love moment. It is fantastic, and it's so earned. So to me, I think if you're going to say stuff like this, just don't. Believe it if you want to believe it, but then, and this makes me worried, because what is he going to do with these female characters in the sequels for Avatar? What is he going to, no, don't bring me beautiful women, bring me these kind of plain-looking people. That's the only way I can believe that they're possibly tough or strong. There are plenty of pretty women who are strong. There are plenty of pretty women who aren't. There are plenty of unattractive or middle, whatever you want to say, women who are not strong. So to me, it's like this is an unnecessary thing to say, and it's not a step backwards in any way, shape, or form. I think Wonder Woman was a huge leap forward. One last thing I do want to say: Patty Jenkins' statement. Her responses to everything since this movie has come out has been amazing. Just fantastic. Very classy, high road, very intelligent, reasoned responses. I do take just a little bit of issue with her saying that he can't understand because he's not a woman. A lot of us understood Wonder Woman even though we weren't women. Now, we may not have felt it in a visceral way, a more primal way, but we certainly understood what was happening here with this icon. So I push back against what James says, because it just seems unnecessary, and it undercuts these strong female characters he has done in other films.
David?
Ooh, yeah, it's a lot to go off of. I think Rocha said it best. I think it's a minefield. I don't know exactly. This is tough. I'll stick with some of the male examples because I don't want to talk about women because I feel like then I'd be sitting up here mansplaining and then no one wants to hear that. So, I mean, for me, yeah, I think men can be at times objectified, not like women. It's completely different. But for me, like when I watch, like I'm a big Outlander fan, right? And I see Outlander, and I've never read the books, but I just watched the show. And you have Frank, who's kind of a regular, everyday man, and you have Sam Heughan's character, Jamie, who I've met in real life, and I mean, I like women, but he's gorgeous. I mean, if I was gay, I'd probably go for him. He's 6'4", he's just got this chiseled chin, everything. It's like, yeah, when you see somebody like that, and she chooses the hero, it's like, of course you'd go for him, because he's gorgeous, of course. Like, I get it. And same with Wonder Woman, she's gorgeous too, so I get Cameron's messed up reasoning and seeing like, oh, she has to look a certain way for people to identify with her and accept her and cheer behind her. But again, his logic is faulty. I agree with Perri. His logic is faulty behind that. But I understand his frustration a little bit but like Dennis said, comic book characters in general are just jacked. The men are like, they have abs that you can't realistically get.
It's
the point.
inherent in the
All
genre.
comic books, women and
the
men.
women and men.
men.
And, you know, we all know her being gorgeous is part of her character.
Sure.
But then also you're talking about the male characters as well. Like, they're all good looking. They're all beefed up.
Well, like Perri said, it shouldn't take away from her strength, or Rocha, like her innocence, her purity, her will to fight and do what's right, just because she's objectively beautiful. Like that shouldn't take away from it. But I do understand what Cameron's saying to a point. But Perri, like you said, it shouldn't take away from her being a hero, a strong hero.
If we all adhere to what James Cameron said in this statement, and strong female characters could only be those specific things, that to me would be a step backwards. Even if James Cameron continues to deliver great films that I love just as much as I love Sarah Connor in the Terminator movies, even if he did deliver great films on that level, but he always had this mentality in his head whenever he brought a woman character to screen. It would lose me pretty fast.
Well, and there is merit in saying that you do see the strength of a female character when they're troubled and they have to go through all these kinds of things. Absolutely. But by the same token, it's not just one way there. There are multiple ways there. And I think that's what Patty Jenkins' statement is so profound in saying. It's not one way, and we have to accept that there are multiple ways to do this, because that's the way we achieve equality, is we don't point it out that just because this or that. You know, it's equal across the board, just like it is on the male side.
I'd like to ask Wendy and Sinead what they think. Wendy?
I mean, I got to side with Patty on this one. I was honestly kind of surprised by what James had said, just because not like he's like backwards in thinking. I guess in my mind, he would appreciate what Patty Jenkins did for Wonder Woman and not be kind of so stuck in the way of thinking, but to each their own, I guess. But I feel, I don't know. It's a little controversial, but I definitely side with Patty Jenkins on this one.
Sinead?
I feel like James Cameron had a thought that was a natural thought to have, that a lot of people could have had the same thought. And then time went by and it got diluted and he heard things and whatever, and now he's being asked about this months later and it's coming out all wrong. But I do believe that his initial thought about how Wonder Woman was objectified is right to a certain degree. But I agree with everything you guys have said in terms of the fact that most comic book heroes are objectified and things like that, and what David said about Outlander. It makes sense. Like, there's a reason why most actors that have played Superman all kind of look the same, right? They're not, I'm sorry, but that's just how Hollywood is. Tell me when they cast someone who's not good looking to play
every CW
Superman.
show.
Yeah. Every CW. So that's why we call it Hot People
Right.
Running.
That's
I
what
remember
it is.
distinctly in Man of Steel, there's this shot of Henry Cavill where he gets his, like, clothes on fire, and the next shot is him shirtless opening the door.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? There was like no, there's no reason for that, but you know.
But Patty Jenkins said that she purposely didn't want to have any shots of her where you could see her butt cheeks, where you could like they didn't want a cleavage pushed up.
Yeah.
Like she made very clear not to make her objectified in a sexual way. Is she a beautiful woman? Yeah, she's a former model.
But then that's not her.
But
That's not like a thing. She just is like she is a good-looking person.
Right.
I will say this: you guys had a really great conversation. Like, honestly, I agree with everything you guys are saying. The one thing that really upsets me about what James Cameron said is how it almost sounds like he's butthurt a little bit, because he's like, Sarah Connor, she had all these struggles and blah blah blah. And the thing that's so important about Patty Jenkins' response is, by painting it that women have to struggle in order to be respected, is taking away this value of like regular everyday women, right? She's a superhero, okay? Like, sure, she's not a regular everyday woman, but this goes for every movie that women are ever in. Why do we have to struggle to be like, to have some sense of power and presence? And why do we have to have like, she's a terrible mother? It's like, okay, great, like, cool, she's a terrible mother, she has all these personal struggles, and that's why we respect her. But like, we should respect women every day, no matter what. We should respect normal women characters, because there's normal guy characters, and I think that's the biggest issue with what he said.
And Charlize said that with Atomic Blonde. She said, I didn't want to create this character because her child died or her husband left her or anything. I just wanted her to be a badass from day one.
Yeah.
She didn't have to have something else happen to her to make her a badass. And I think this is the new convention, and it has to keep going. And James wants to push it backwards, and I just don't agree with that.
All right, let's move on to a less controversial topic. Let's talk about the DCEU and Batman.
All right, clarification about Matt Reeves' The Batman movie came from the horse's mouth directly yesterday when Reeves took to Twitter to clear up, debunk, and set the record straight about his version of The Dark Knight and whether or not it would be a part of the DC Extended Universe. In a series of tweets, Reeves said, "Geez, what did I miss, guys? Just to be clear, of course Batman will be part of the DC Universe. Batman will be Batman. In my comments from a while back about not being part of the DCEU, I was talking about the Batman being a story specifically about Batman, not about the others in the universe. That it wouldn't be filled with cameos servicing other stories, that it would be a Batman story." Perri, what are your thoughts on Reeves' statement about the Batman?
My thoughts were exactly the same from when we covered it on the This Just In story. And I kind of read, if you listen to how he talks about it in the actual podcast and you're not just reading word for word and you're not just reading the really outlandish headlines that came out of this story, you can kind of hear what he really means. And I will give some people some slack that were running with that headline because, we are in a time where semantics matter. The term shared universe, cinematic universe, expanded universe, whatever you want to call it, that does mean something very important in the DCWB string of films. So the fact that he used the term extended universe and strictly said that this isn't part of it, that's the one thing in this whole scenario where I do give some people a little bit of slack for running with that. But at the same time, when you listen to his quote in context and you understand everything that has come before this story broke, yeah, it makes a lot of sense that he would say it's a standalone movie. That's exactly what I thought yesterday. He is making a standalone movie for the Batman character that doesn't necessarily rely on any of the other heroes we're meeting or any of the specific events that we've already seen in the DCEU. So, this is pretty much just proving what went through my mind the other day.
David?
Yeah, it's good news because I feel like a lot of these big cinematic universe movies, you can definitely feel the world building because they have to. They're creating these long-term stories, so I'm glad that he sounds like he's clarifying that, yes, of course, this is part of the big cinematic universe, but he's going to tell a standalone Batman story without a bunch of cameos. Because remember, like in Batman v Superman, when Wonder Woman's looking at that file and she's going through and look at all this footage of all these different characters, it's like, okay, they're setting up Justice League. They have to do that. But there's so many good standalone Batman stories in the last 3 or 4 years. Court of Owls, Death in the Family. We haven't done The Long Halloween yet. That's an older one. But there's so many good Batman stories they can tell. So I'm glad they're going to tell just a plain, simple Batman story. I'm excited.
Rocha.
Yeah, this is difficult because Matt Reeves is not an unintelligent guy. I don't want to cut him too much slack here because I think you have to be responsible for the words you use. And standalone has been around for quite some time now in this superhero genre world that we're in now. And the idea of an extended universe, a shared universe, a separate universe, which now we're hearing with this origin Joker story or whatever, you have to be responsible for the words you say. So I get it. Yes, you can go back and go hey, I didn't mean it this way. I wanted it to be a standalone film. But when you say things like that, you have to understand how the public is going to take them. So to come off with a cute little tweet where you're going, what did I miss, guys? It really doesn't address the situation that you misspoke or you own ownership of your misspeaking and say hey, I probably should have said that better, blah, 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 instead of coming up with a cute little emoji. That isn't going to work here. There's too much at stake. It's the DCEU, and the DCU is on its heels and thinking that Wonder Woman would push them forward. Now we have all this universe shared, all this stuff coming up, all these Joker movies coming out, all this stuff that's confusing a lot of people. And then, and we're hearing rumors of and then the Joss Whedon thing that blew up about his ex-wife. There's so much that the DCU is handling now. To me, I think a more reasoned response, like what Patty did with James Cameron's comments, I think that would have been more respectful. To be playful about it, I just didn't like that at all. But I get what he's trying to say. That's a standalone film, and so you can go back. It's almost like going back. No, what I really meant was, you kind of twist the words a little bit to make them fit certain kind of meanings. So I respect if he's telling the truth. Great. In my opinion, I think you have to be responsible for the words you use in those moments.
Yeah, I personally am not offended by his playful comments back. I've been kind of busy and out of the loop, so I've been casually following the story the last couple days, and when I read what he said, I immediately assumed that he didn't mean what he said. I think he misspoke, but I do agree with you. If you're in that position where you are the director of Batman, you should know better.
Yes.
You should know what you're saying. You shouldn't say not part of the extended universe. You shouldn't say those things, but I know what he meant by them, and I also don't blame people for taking those comments and running with them because that's what he said. We had that discussion, a week ago about Casey Affleck talking about Ben Affleck. like, if someone says those things, of course people are going to talk about them. Like, are they supposed to ignore them? I don't know. So, yeah, I think it's just, he just, I don't think he did it on purpose, but at the same time, he should have watched his words a little more.
Yeah, because he's done already a franchise thing with the Apes movies, right?
Yeah.
So he knows.
And I think what made all of this worse was just because that Joker origin movie
Yeah.
was announced, where they started confusing people by saying this isn't part of the DCEU, this is part of another thing we're trying to build right now. So I feel like if the two things didn't happen at the exact same time, maybe it wouldn't have been blown so far out of proportion.
Well, I feel like it's exhausting. I mean, we have it in the X-Men universe too.
Yeah.
It's like Logan doesn't quite take place in the first 3 X-Men films.
Right.
Legion doesn't really take place. I mean, it's always all over the place.
And where's
with that.
New Mutants going
Yeah,
to be?
where's
Is
New
it
Mutants
going to be
gonna
part
be?
of shit?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think also the Ben Affleck stuff, you have to throw that into this too.
Yeah.
That all the rumors that he's leaving, is this the way they're going to get him out? The Flashpoint rumor with Flash, is this how they're going to bring in another Batman or another person to play Batman? So you throw that on top of the pile, it's just a big fire.
Yeah, I've been out of the studio for the last 2-3 days, and all I hear about is like there's like 5 million Joker movies or something like that. There's like all this stuff going on. It's crazy. All right, guys. Now we're moving on to buy or sell. Sinead, what do we got first?
Taking to his Twitter account, Robert Downey Jr. shared a picture of himself with Jon Favreau and Gwyneth Paltrow with the caption, Infinity Trinity. He then hashtagged it with Infinity War. Since he shared the image, fans have speculated that Favreau's Happy Hogan and Paltrow's Pepper Potts will both appear in the untitled 4th Avengers movie. However, many sites have also reported that it could be just pickup shots for Infinity War. We'll find out next summer when Avengers Infinity War lands in theaters on May 4th, 2018. David, do you buy or sell Jon Favreau and Gwyneth Paltrow in Infinity War, or will they appear in Avengers 4?
As long as Robert Downey Jr. wants to keep doing these movies, I assume they'll let him. I mean, he has that much pull. I mean, he is the front man, for the show. So I hope that he's going to be in as many films as he wants to be. And I'm glad to see. I mean, back in 2008, it started it all, right? I mean, I guess Incredible Hulk technically was that. I mean, go back there, but Iron Man was the first flagship movie that they did. I mean, it was a great cast. I love seeing Gwyneth Paltrow in Spider-Man there. A nice little cameo there. I see her back. And there's some behind-the-scenes stuff going on, like why she hasn't appeared lately. But it's just the chemistry of those 3 together. I mean, that's what started everything in 2008. So I hope it's true for everything. I mean, Infinity War or Avengers, for whatever they want to call this. Like, Rocha, we were having this conversation earlier about, if they're filming back-to-back or what they're choosing to do, kind of like a Lord of the Rings style with the making of these movies. I want to see him in all of it because I love this trio together. It definitely works.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it as well. I mean, this is what started the MCU.
Yeah.
Jon Favreau directing, not just being in the movie, but he directed the first movie that launched the whole MCU. And obviously, you have Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow. And I don't know which movie they're going to be in. People have speculated that perhaps there'll be some sort of wedding sequence in one of these movies.
Right.
And maybe that's why they're all together. I guess they originally had wanted to shoot 3 and 4 at the same time, and then things got too complicated, so they're going to do one after the other. But yeah, I'm glad to see them back. Perri?
Of course I'd buy this. Who wouldn't want to see the 3 of them in this movie, especially after having seen Spider-Man Homecoming, particularly with Happy. I was so excited that we got to spend more time with that character. You look at this picture and yes, you can get excited that they are going to be a part of these movies in some capacity, but we also don't know how much. For all we know, it'll be more Iron Man heavy and we won't see the other 2 all that much, but one way or the other, I'm just happy they're involved.
Yeah, I buy it absolutely. And if you're going to end it, which is what the rumors are, that you might be recasting Iron Man or starting all over again, all that kind of stuff, you have to bring them back for a last hurrah. And why not? And you're right, Perri, their chemistry in Spider-Man Homecoming, it's just hanging out with old friends. They just have the vibe, and it was so playful and fun. And the ring situation was hilarious, and the whole thing about her having the press conference that already lined up, all of it just worked really, really well. And they have such great chemistry, Paltrow and Downey Jr. Great, that romance is one of, like people talking about, the Hulk and Black Widow. This is the romance. This is the romance that is really, really fun to watch. And I like Carlini with Renner, but this is the one, and it's enjoyable to see, and it's the one that started. So if you're going to wrap it up, it makes sense to bring them back together. So I totally buy it.
All right, what's next?
Warner Brothers and Alcon Entertainment have unveiled a new international TV spot and poster for Blade Runner 2049. the highly anticipated sequel to Ridley Scott's 1980s sci-fi classic. Directed by a rival and Sicario filmmaker Denis Villeneuve, Blade Runner 2049's story is set 30 years after the events of the first film and stars Ryan Gosling as LAPD Officer K, who discovers a secret that leads him on a mission to track and find Rick Deckard, played by Harrison Ford. The movie hits theaters on October 6th. Rocha, do you buy or sell the new TV spot and poster for Blade Runner?
I mean, yes. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I have never been in so anticipation for a film maybe in my life. Like, I just love Blade Runner so much, and everything that's come out has been so great. That poster is going up on my wall. I don't care that I'm an older guy. I'm gonna put a movie poster on my wall.
Just put a frame on it.
Yeah, put a frame on it.
You gotta frame it.
Don't
Yeah,
just put
frame it.
thumbtacks
You're a grown man, Rocha.
right next, to my, right next to my beer sign, my neon beer sign. No. I just love everything that's come out about this. This and the Thor movie are the two ones that I'm the most excited for. I know Star Wars is going to be good, so I don't worry about that. But these two are the ones that I have, I concern if it's really going to be as good as I want it to be. And I think this is the one that just stands out. In the TV spot, you get a little more with Harrison Ford. You get a little more with Jared Leto. You get a different perspective what Ryan Gosling is going for. You get this relationship that he has with this. I can forget the character's name, but they're having their romance that they're figuring out as they go along. And it's just great. The images and that soundtrack. My God, that soundtrack brings you right back to the vibe of the first film. There is something about that soundtrack. I don't know if people understand this as film goers. Like, when you hear a soundtrack, it just viscerally moves you. And for me, Blade Runner has always been the one. You could put that on somewhere and I'll immediately just start shaking inside because it just does something to me. So this spot is great because it shows you some newer stuff, but it doesn't venture so far out that it's showing you a lot of new stuff that's going to ruin the movie. So I think it's a brilliant TV spot. Even though it's a minute long, it could really come close to messing around with what you're going to see in the theaters. They don't do that. And the poster itself is, it's just fantastic. It's so brilliantly done, and it evokes that idea of going back to the 80s but still being modern. You know, there's a whole new retro, new wave of music. It's very 80s synth that you can find and listen to online. Kravinsky's a fantastic artist for that kind of stuff, and this is that kind of vibe. And so I'm happy to see this, and I buy it with all my money.
Perri?
Yeah, I definitely buy this as well. And as a new Blade Runner fan, newish at this point, yeah.
You saw it?
I told you that I wasn't really into it, and then I watched the final cut. Everyone out there is well aware of that because I keep talking about it because I really am excited now, more so than ever, for Blade Runner. And that TV spot is something else. The TV spot, not only the score in that, because that score, it's one of those things that it gets in your head and it gets you pumped to see the movie. The visuals, wow. I mean, I watched this thing one time through, I watched it again, and then I watched it a third time, and I was freeze framing every single thing. It is just so beautifully shot, and I'm really impressed by the marketing campaign for this, because normally at this point, when you've seen X amount of trailers, TV spots, featurettes, whatever we have at this point, you know a little too much. And even though I have a general sense of what the movie is about, where all these characters might fall within the plot, I probably couldn't spit out a simple log line, you know?
Yeah, I buy big on both the trailer, TV spot / trailer. It's pretty long. It's a minute long. And the poster. I mean, the trailer, you're talking about, you actually get the first insight into what the story is about. You find it, you see why Ryan Gosling's character is searching out Harrison Ford. And like you guys talked about with the soundtrack and also just the visuals that Roger Deakins shot, it brings you into the atmosphere, into that world, and you get to see a lot of that in this thing. And as far as the poster is concerned, I like it so much more than those stupid character posters they put out before. The one where there was one that Harrison Ford looked like he had just stumbled out of his house, and they just photoshopped a picture of him taking out the garbage into a desert thing. It looked terrible. It was terrible. This looks fantastic.
Get off
David?
my yard.
Yeah, I mean, I buy this for so many reasons. So just a quick look into my personal life, which I'm sure a lot of you always love to hear. So Adam Scott has one of the best quotes. Adam Scott's character on Parks and Rec has a great quote. Somebody, I forgot whose character, asked him what he's doing one evening, and he said, well, I was going to go home and eat chicken parmesan and watch Blade Runner. So the next time I watched Blade Runner, I had chicken parmesan. So if you want to really enjoy Blade Runner, make sure you go to Olive Garden or Buca de Pepa and get your chicken parmesan. It's the best way to watch it. Yeah, there's so much going on here. I know 2015 Sicario came out. And the reason why I mentioned Sicario is because you have the director Denis Villeneuve, and you also have the cinematographer Roger Deakins. I know is one of Dennis's favorite cinematographers of all time. He is just fantastic. So I mean, this is the Sicario. If you like Sicario, it's going to be shot like that, just in the future. And I want to know, like, where's Harrison Ford? Why is the place he's in like a wasteland? Like, is that old LA? Is that an old part of the city that he's hiding in? Like, what's going on? I can't wait to find out.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
Amazon Studios and Lionsgate have released the first trailer for Richard Linklater's new film, Last Flag Flying. Based on the novel of the same name by Daryl Ponison, the film takes place in 2003 and follows 3 Vietnam War veterans, played by Bryan Cranston, Steve Carell, and Lawrence Fishburne, who reunite under tragic circumstances. The son of Carell's character has just been killed serving in the Iraq War, and instead of burying him at Arlington Cemetery, he enlists his veteran buddies to help bring the casket up the East Coast to New Hampshire. Last Flag Flying will have its world premiere at the New York Film Festival on September 28th before opening in select theaters on November 3rd. Dennis, do you buy or sell the first trailer for Last Flag Flying?
I have to be honest, I hadn't heard about this movie coming out. I didn't know, so it was quite a surprise for me to see that Richard Linklater was doing this type of movie. I buy this trailer. It's something different from the last few movies that he's done. He did Everybody Wants Some, which was surprisingly, I like that quite a bit. It was a spiritual successor to Dazed and Confused. Obviously, he had done Boyhood, and this is a film, with Amazon Studios, perhaps another Oscar contender, maybe to follow up on Manchester by the Sea. And great cast here with Bryan Cranston, Steve Carell, and Lawrence Fishburne. Steve Carell, we haven't, at least I don't remember seeing him in a dramatic role since Foxcatcher. Has he done one since that film?
It's a good question.
Yeah, but
he also has Battle of the Sexes coming out.
okay. That looks kind of like a drama comedy.
Yes. I
guess,
Yeah.
yeah.
I like this. They had the Neil Young "Old Man" song in the trailer, which I love. So yeah, I'm buying this. Perri.
Yeah, the music in this trailer was something else. Whenever you put Mondo Cosmo in a trailer, I'm going to like it. And I like this trailer for a million other reasons. One of my favorite elements of any Richard Linklater film is how good he is at making you feel like you're living in the moment with the characters. And even with a really quick 2.5-minute trailer, I already get that feeling. The second the trailer ended, I thought to myself, oh, I want to spend more time with these guys. So I'm happy this is coming out sooner rather than later. More people needed to see Everybody Wants Some. I hope that this winds up doing well.
David?
Yeah, I was a big fan of Everybody Wants Some. I loved it, especially like playing baseball as a kid. That was fun to watch. Also, I want to know what the journey of these guys are. I mean, what made Lawrence Fishburne become a pastor? What, obviously they lived some wild lives before, we get to see them in this stage in their lives. And I think it's going to be a great journey to see Steve Carell maybe learn more about his son, and the guilt that he feels about, I think it was something he says, like sending my son off to the desert or something like that. So, I mean, this is going to be an emotional ride. I mean, this is going to be a powerful film. There's got to be some Oscar nominations coming up. I mean, these guys are all super talented, so I definitely buy this.
Rocha?
Yeah, it's a very moving trailer. Having served and stuff, you see when this kind of stuff is done really well, it affects you because you understand people go through this struggle, both who are in the military and their relatives. Like, you understand the cost and the price, and you see Carell have that moment where he lets just a little bit of that come out, where he says, "I just want to understand what was the point," and that's a real thing that a lot of parents think about when these wars break out. They're proud of their children for serving, but then when they die in what they feel might be a useless war or a war that serves no purpose, then there's the questions that come on. We've seen that since Vietnam, and so this looks like a very enjoyable time exploring a serious subject, and I love that. And I think we see this on the heels of what Miles Teller's films coming out that explores the PTSD of serving. There's these things that are coming now. The military, there's a way to approach it that isn't just 100% in lockstep and just praising it. There's actually exploring what's underneath. We saw this with Kate Mara's film that came out with the dog, serving with the dog, connecting with the dog. I forget what the name of that film is. So this is going to be fun to see. And Linklater, I didn't like Boyhood, but you guys say Everybody Wants Some is good. So I will rent that and watch it. I've liked his stuff in the past, and I like that he's like maturing as a filmmaker. He's doing these more mature subjects and exploring this stuff, which if you compare...
He's not that old.
No.
He's fairly, he's in the 40s, I think.
Wait till you get there. It feels old.
No, it feels old.
But I like that he's embracing these mature subjects, because you juxtapose this with Dazed and Confused, and this is the same filmmaker, and that speaks volumes to a guy who's that talented that can keep changing and progressing and expanding and exploring these subjects really, really well. And it looks like he does that here, absolutely. Oh, and Freeheld, and what was the other one? Big Short. So Steve has done some serious stuff since then. So.
All right, what's next?
The first image from Out of the Furnace and Black Mass filmmaker Scott Cooper's highly anticipated Western Hostels has landed online. Written and directed by Cooper, the film takes place in 1892 and stars Christian Bale as a legendary army captain who reluctantly agrees to escort a dying Cheyenne war chief and his family back home to tribal lands. The movie also stars Rosamund Pike, Adam Beach, Ben Foster, and Jesse Plemons and will debut at the Toronto Film Festival next month. It is currently without a release date or distributor. Rocha, buy or sell the first image from Scott Cooper's Hostels.
Well, I am the outlaw, so I do love westerns. That picture is fantastic, and Christian Bale, as we saw in 3:10 to Yuma, he can do really great work in the western genre. So I love this. It looks fantastic, and the look of it, it's very like it has a vibe of Unforgiven to it a little bit too, as well. Just standing there in that wasteland and seeing the stuff around, nothing else around him. I like that, and I love Scott Cooper. I liked Crazy Heart. I loved Crazy Heart, and Out of the Furnace is one of these unrecognized, really great, smaller, grittier films, and so I'm excited to see what he can do with Christian Bale in a Western situation. And Rosamund Pike, ever since Gone Girl, I've been like, yes, give her everything. Give her everything. I want to see more of that, and more of her talent come through in these roles that ask for more from her and that are meatier. So yeah, this excites me to no end. It's such a great, great image.
David?
Yeah, I buy this. I mean, anything that Christian Bale is going to be in, I buy. I remember, I didn't watch the Newsies. I don't remember him being in that. I mean, 'cause I obviously, when I saw him as a kid, I wasn't like, oh, that's Christian Bale. But the first thing I remember seeing him in was American Psycho, and he's just so dynamic. I think he does a great American accent, especially I'm sure he's probably going to be doing maybe a Southern accent here. I'm definitely buying this. I think Westerns are like in right now, which is awesome to see. I mean, we have Steven Soderbergh's doing a new series on Netflix that he's developing. Godless. And you also have Westworld, of course. I mean, that has robots, but that's okay. So I'm glad to see that Westerns are back and on TV and in film. So yeah, I'm definitely going to watch this. Thumbs up.
Yeah, I'm going to buy it as well. I'm a fan of Scott Cooper's work. Like you guys mentioned, Crazy Heart. Out of the Furnace was one of those movies that was slow-paced, a slow burn. I expect this to be the same way. That's when Cooper worked with Christian Bale before, and he was able to pull that great performance out of him. I mean, not like Christian Bale isn't already super talented, but also you saw in Black Mass with Johnny Depp, who hadn't had a good run of acting performances. He pulled something out of him. Also, Joel Edgerton, which I thought he should have got an Oscar nomination for that role. He had David Harbour had a small role in that film, but also very good. So I'm looking forward to it. Westerns, definitely. I feel like the great thing about Westerns now is I avoid them when I was younger. I didn't care for them, and then later on, I appreciate the better ones. And I feel like right now with Westerns, even though they're not in, I feel like the more talented filmmakers and actors are gravitating towards them. So we're not seeing a lot of them, but we're seeing quality ones come out. Perri?
I'm actually going to sell it. Yeah, I know. I'm waiting to hear even more of that after this. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the image. I don't look at that and say, oh, Christian Bale's going to be terrible in the role. But I liked Crazy Heart a lot. I kind of liked Black Mass. I was very unhappy in Out of the Furnace. Okay. That was probably one of my most miserable movie-going experiences ever, where I just remember being bored to tears, not caring about what's happening. I did not respond to that movie in the least. So to hear that he's making a Western and it stars Christian Bale, it's got a great cast, cool, but it's going to take more than this photo to get me on board. So maybe when we see a trailer, I will change my tune, because he is a talented filmmaker. I can recognize that, but I need something a little stronger than just a still image to make me feel like this isn't going to be Out of the Furnace, for me at least, all over again.
All right, guys, before we get going on, if you watched the beginning of the show, you saw a little flyer. You can bring that up, Adam. This is Jurassic Park this Tuesday, August 29th at 7:30 p.m. at ArcLight Hollywood. This is a screening series that we here at Collider are doing. So this is something we'll be at, and we'll be having a nice little Q&A before the film. And then afterwards, we're going to have a meet and greet. This is one of Perri's favorite movies. Is this your?
This is my favorite movie of all time. So, you could tell by how happy I look in that photo to be eaten by a T-Rex.
So yeah, you can get tickets online. Go to collider.com. Also, Heroes and TV Talk are going to be up later today. We also had a new comic book shopping that I directed with Will.i.am and Taboo from Black Eyed Peas that showed up on Wednesday. You can check that out. We also have a new Schmodown today, Critically Acclaimed versus Late to the Party. That's part of the tournament. And also a brand new Awesome Tackler. Now let's move on to Mailbag. Sinead, what do we got?
Joe Fricky writes, "Hey guys, I love the show. On Movie Talk today, you were discussing people watching new releases at home and only going to the theater for big spectacle movies. I believe TV killed the mid-budget movie. Before the days of HBO, AMC, FX, Hulu, Netflix, and Amazon, you had to go to the theater for good adult stories. Everything on TV was PG. Now you can watch real, non-PG content from your own couch. I just wanted your thoughts and if you think the golden age of TV we are currently in is why a lot of good mid-budget movies are going unwatched at the theater. Thanks for taking my question."
Yeah, definitely. I do feel like because of the success of kind of more adult fare on television now, more so than ever before, has led to less people willing to go out to the movie theaters. But it could be kind of like a chicken and egg thing. What happened first? Was there like not enough content to satisfy that area, and that's why TV rose? Or did TV rise in that area, and then therefore movies kind of ignored it? My concern now is more for the bigger budgeted adult drama stuff that is not going to be made. Like perhaps something like a Lawrence of Arabia wouldn't be made today because they're not going to be willing to put in the money. Movies that I liked before, like a Cold Mountain or English Patient, that had higher budgets but really were more adult dramas. Are those films not going to be made anymore? And TV, I don't think, can handle. They're getting better, as we can see. Budgets are rising in television, but I don't know if they're going to get to that extent.
I think what's going to fill that hole, though, and that potentially happening, and something like that would never happen until years down the line, but you have things like Amazon and Netflix making their own original films. So maybe the risk taking will happen more there than it will with big studios. But I mean, I definitely think this is a very valid point to bring up, because think about the ease of just sitting at home, watching something that you're already paying a subscription service for versus going out and going to the movies. And we know really well, everybody in this whole entire office, that there are only so many hours in the day and there's only so much content you can consume. And I imagine the same is true for every single person out there. If there's so much good TV, I might watch a little more TV and not go to the movies as often. It makes sense, and it's super convenient.
It's the Homer Simpson complex. There's so much good TV. I think Dennis brings up a great point. Which came first, But these studios are also taking advantage of this platform that they have and releasing these movies like Beasts of No Nation, like the new Brad Pitt movie that may not have been well received, but it's at least getting a shot to be out there. War Machine and all these other films, and Amazon Studios is producing these films. So, like we just talked about the Linklater one.
Yeah.
So they're taking advantage of the platform they have at least, and giving more access, I think, to making these films. And you don't have to have a high budget to create something that works. So maybe this forces filmmakers to kind of cut costs a little bit, make a tighter film, make a leaner film, and still be showcased in the right way. So I get it, and you're probably right that it did kill it to a degree. But I think it also, these studios have stepped into this vacuum and taken advantage of the platform.
Yeah, and we also have Scorsese's Irishman coming
Irishman,
out
right.
on Netflix.
right.
David?
I mean, that's why Soderbergh left for a while. He retired, so to speak. He went and did the Nick for a couple seasons on Cinemax because he said the $50 to $60 million rated R adult drama in the film industry is dead. I don't know, but then you have stuff that comes out like The Revenant, which is a $100 million movie that you wouldn't think would have wide appeal because it's not like your Avengers or something, but it made good money. So maybe those type of epics, I would call that an epic in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe those kind of epics are still going to be around. They don't have to be tied to a comic book or another popular title of some kind. So, but I'm so happy that it's on TV. I think you get really interesting stories on TV. On FX right now, there's a show called Snowfall. It's all about the rise of crack cocaine in South Central, and it tackles a lot of different issues in like 10 episodes, and it's very good. And I don't know if that would work unless you put like American Gangster, you put like Denzel in the movie. So I'm glad to see that television can tell some of these stories that maybe they can't tell on the big screen.
Okay. All right, guys. Now we're going to move on to your live Twitter questions. You can tweet us at Collider Video. Wendy, what do we got picked out?
This one is from CM Parsons, who writes, "Would you be more excited for a Jason or Freddy movie? Thoughts on The Rock as Jason Voorhees and Doug Jones as Freddy Krueger?" The Rock as Jason Voorhees. That's going to be the
Size-wise, he would
Jason
put the size. He'd be great.
No.
But he can't talk or anything.
I say no to this question all around because that's crazy. And how are you going to make me pick between Freddy and Jason?
Freddy and Jason, I'd probably go with Jason. But as far as The Rock, it's like, So you're going to take his best ability, which is to be able to talk, and take that away from him. Yeah, I wouldn't be for it.
I agree with you.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing Fred. I think maybe again, sorry, not just TV plug, but I think one of those series were great as a television series. A Jason or Freddy TV series, like on HBO, one of the bigger networks. That could be fantastic.
All right, what's
Maybe not.
Can you imagine seeing like a rock-sized
No.
Jason coming at you like down the
That'd
alley?
be a big Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be pretty scary.
All right, this next one comes from Steven, who writes, have we seen the end of movie songs like in Man in Black, Titanic, Bodyguard, etc.? You know, the ones with the trailer type video.
Men in Black.
I hope we're done with the ones that like are so on the nose that are like specific, unless they're like for kids movies or whatever. But like, I don't want to see a movie like Men in Black where he's like actually singing Men in Black. Even like something like a musical like La La Land, right? There's no song going La La Land. We are here in La La. You know what I mean? Like I don't.
the whole opening number is kind of that without actually saying La La Land.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm saying I don't need a title song. That
What about like
actually,
Ghostbusters? Who are you gonna call?
That's great back then. I don't think
Well,
that's for today.
Despicable
It
Me
was
has
terrible.
one. Despicable Me has the Pharrell song. I believe it's Pharrell. And
Happy,
it's,
yeah.
no, not Happy. The one where he actually says Despicable Me.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And I think that one was used pretty well.
I'm happy to bury it.
Yeah.
It was from a time.
Yes.
And we're more mature.
It's kind of like the voiceover guy in the trailer's
Yeah.
gone, right? Like
Yeah, that
it was
guy's
great when he in a world,
Yeah.
but that era is over.
Yeah.
with. David,
Yeah, I mean, I like songs. I don't mind a little catch song. It's nice. Little theme song.
I wish TV theme songs would come back like they were in the 80s and 90s. Those were great TV themes. We don't really have that. It's more just songs now.
yeah, scores.
Scores,
It sound-
right.
It's more about coming up with the best opening credits, like even just from a
Yes.
visual
Visually,
perspective.
with the
Yeah.
song, yeah. Mhm.
All right, guys, that's it for today's episode. I want to thank you guys for joining me. I heard Perri audibly.
I was surprised I audibly
Yes,
said that.
Yeah. TV Talk is next with David Griffin, Sinead DeVries, and who else is on the show today?
Grace
Hancock.
Grace Hancock.
Heyo.
Perri, where can people find you?
I am on Twitter and Instagram at Nemiroff. Also, don't forget we have 2 mailbags coming out this weekend and Collider behind the scenes and bloopers. We played a group game at a meeting, so you're going to get a little BTS on the meeting, and then you're going to see us play a really silly game that was a lot of fun. So keep an eye out for that tomorrow, 2 p.m. PST. Don't miss it.
Rocha?
Oh, yeah, you guys can find me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. I dropped the new Outlaw Nation yesterday with Matt Nose, where we talk about the NBA free agency. And today on the Cinephiles, we talk about The Right Stuff, the 1982 film with Sam Shepard, the late, great Sam Shepard.
David?
Just stay right here. Just don't change that channel.
Hey-o.
Stay here. Sinead DeVries, myself, and Grace Hancock. When we talk about TV, we're going to be reviewing The Tick, folks. The Tick, new series on Amazon, and a new trailer for the Shannara Chronicles season 2. I'm sure everybody's pumped about that.
Wendy, where can people find you?
You can find me on YouTube at the Movie Couple channel and at Wendy Lee Zaney on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat.
Sinead?
Oh, so good. All right, I'll be on TV Talk in like 2 minutes. Sorry, I'm such a child. I'll be on TV Talk in like 2 minutes, so don't go anywhere. And then I'll be back on Friday for Movie Talk. Okay, bye.
You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero, Instagram, Dennis.tzng. Just, a reminder, like we said before, we have that Collider screen series this Tuesday, ArcLight Hollywood. You can look up on Collider.com or even on the ArcLight website to buy tickets. I think they're already 70 or 80% sold out.
Yeah.
Or sold. So get that quickly. And also check out all the program we have on the weekend, and we'll catch you guys on Monday.
Hey guys, if you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Also, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. It'll help you stay up to date with everything we've got going on here at Collider.